Well, it's a very good morning from him, and of course, it's a very good morning from me. Welcome and good morning to my live stream, my insights, my ideas to help you if you're in the mortgage or financial services sector to get really good at the job, keep yourself up to date, and all those good things. Enough of that introduction. Let's get on to the topic. Hope you're well. Hope all is fine with you. You're enjoying our gorgeous summer or not. I mean, they're getting like hot weather over in the Med at the moment, aren't they? But we're getting like 19 degrees and rain and cloud. That's just like summer's gone by when I was a kid. Anyway, enough of the moan about the weather. Let's go on air, shall we? So that we know we're live. So let's talk about a few topics today. Got a couple of sales ideas to help you to smooth your sale along if you're looking for more sales, of course. And then I've got an update for you on roof inspections, particularly for offers and equity release products as well, which are very strict with the property, as you can probably appreciate. So let's get on to our first topic then, which takes a look at, actually a little update for you on passporting, which I wanted to share with you very quickly. So let's go over to some slides now. So let's head over to some slides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on in for 10 minutes or so to join you because I can. So welcome to our little holding clip there. Now, quick update for you on passporting. Now, as you know, we've left the EU and all of the EU laws were transferred to UK laws because they were. And we've been updating a few recently as well. So anything new from the EU doesn't really affect us. But one of the big issues with the EU transition is that we did a great deal on trade, but we forgot about services. And that's been sorted now, particularly in Europe when it comes to financial services. And this was a clip you might have seen in the press. The UK to work more closely with the EU on financial services. And that's a good thing. And obviously in the mortgage world, that doesn't really affect you. But in the global financial services sector, the City of London, there's a picture of the gherkin and everything. It really makes a difference. And what's happened is that the UK has signed a pact with the EU to increase cooperation on financial services. And we used to have this thing called passporting, which allowed any regulated firm to transact business in other states, because that all went with the removal of the EU, the Brexit. So what they've done, they replaced it with this, just to highlight it for you, a voluntary regulatory cooperation on financial services, which is a good thing. But down here's the important one for you. We've adopted what's called an equivalence decision. Under equivalence, access to the EU can be granted to foreign firms in certain areas of financial services if the rules governing the sector are deemed equivalent. So equivalence then has replaced passporting. So I'm very pleased about that. That's another next step, if you like, for financial services, because we want the City of London to be the greatest venue for all financial services, because it makes a lot of money for the country. And at the moment, with this great big state, we need all the money we can possibly get. Okay, talking about money, let's get on to my next topic, which takes a look at closing or commitment from clients. Now, you're probably dealing with a lot of consumers, a lot of customers, existing clients, new clients in the product transfer remortgage marketplace at the moment. If you're not, well, you should be. And often what you're finding now is you're talking to a lot of people, but you're not maybe actually getting a lot of business, which is fine in a recession or downturn. That often happens. But you might be getting quite frustrated that you're talking to loads and loads of people and nobody wants to take your advice, which is obviously not a good thing. So let's take a look at the subject of gaining commitment from customers, but by remaining ethical and professional. But moving the sale along to the conclusion, of course, is what we're looking at. And a great film that you must watch called Glengarry Glen Ross. It's an old film now, it's early 90s, I think. Take a look at some of the actors in that. They look very young, don't they? There's Al Pacino. They're looking quite young. Now, that film, I guess, demonstrated what 90s sales techniques are all about. And they were sleazy for whatever you look at it. They weren't good. We were slightly better in the financial services sector because we were regulated by them, but it wasn't brilliant. Now, I'm not talking about sleazy closing skills here. And here's Alec Baldwin looking ever so young, using the always be closing technique that he adopted. Now, I'm not going to go there with that one. I've got a couple for you. which you'll be able to use subtly and elegantly in your dealings with clients and customers. Not to become a sleazy salesperson, but to move things along to a successful conclusion. And that's your job, to keep things ticking along nicely. Now, the first technique for you, I've called it matching the buying steps to your sales process. And this particular technique asks that you focus on how your customer buys a mortgage. And then you align your selling steps or your advisory steps to the way that they buy or the stage in the buying process that they're in. Many of us don't do that. We see a client and we expect them to start at number one and work the way all the way through. And that's fine, but the customer may be miles ahead of you, you see, and you'll end up frustrating them and not knowing exactly where you're coming from. So let's take a quick review of the customer's buying steps then, shall we? Just a quick review of that. Let's just pop over to a whiteboard for this one, and I've already started here. How customers or consumers, I'm talking about here, how do they buy mortgages? So if you just take a look at the way they buy mortgages, this is how it works pretty much on average. First of all, somebody has a need or they have a problem which develops in their head. Now that problem is that their mortgage is going to go up. They're worrying about being able to afford it. Their fixed rate's coming to an end in 12 months, 18 months or something, or maybe 6 months. It's a problem that's like up there with all the other problems in life. It could be that they're looking to refinance for some reason, maybe raise some extra capital. They could be looking to move house. But the fact is that there's a problem there in their heads, but it's not a really big problem. Now, when the problem worsens, here we go, problem worsens or gets even more um, intense in their heads, that's when they'll start to do something about it. Now, for example, Shelley and I, we've got a fixed rate mortgage, comes to an end in May next year. So we're going to be looking, obviously, at some point. Now, is it a problem? Yes, because it's going to go all the way north. Is it a problem that's really on top of our minds? Not really, because there's not much we can do about it yet. So we're kind of at the problem stage. Now, once the problem worsens, in other words, it gets really quite intense, your customer will then look for solutions for that problem. Now, believe me, they ain't going to just phone you. They're not going to rock up on your door, knock on your lovely office in the high street and say, "Hi, I'm here." No, very few people. What they'll do is they'll research. They'll go on the internet and start researching. And that's what they'll do. And I'm sorry, everybody will do that. They will start researching for a solution to their problem. Now, will they come to you? They might do. It depends really how much they value you. And of course, it depends whether you contacted them or not, or are in the frame, name in the frame kind of thing. Because they're not just your client. They are the client of the lender. They're the client of the insurance company. They're the client of the buildings insurance company. They're on the database of several client bases. They're not just yours. You have to work at it. You have to contact them in advance. Now, obviously, they're going to research. They're also going to seek referrals because that's the way people work, isn't it? They're going to seek referrals from friends and family in the real world. They're going to go online and seek referrals, look out for testimonials maybe, see where they can find somebody else that's used a solution and what result that's had. We all do that now. Once they've done all this research bit, they'll then consider their options. In other words, what solutions are available to them to solve their problem, and then they'll choose whatever solution they want. And there's a lot of customers now who will do this themselves. This is very DIY nowadays, even more now with artificial intelligence giving people all the information they need. A lot of people going on to ChatGPT and other techniques to find the information, get to websites, and they do it themselves because they think they're going to keep the costs down. You see, there are no fees or no sleazy salespeople getting in the way. And obviously, what we have to do for this commitment process really is when we meet the client for the first time, or they're an existing client of ours and we've made contact with them, which you should do, of course, we need to try and find out where your consumer is in their buying steps. Simple as that. So when does your client appear, first of all? Do they appear here? Do they appear here, if they've been referred? Are they part of their research? Are you part of their research? So where do you appear, first of all? You need to ask that. Where have they been before? You need to ask that question. Who have they spoken to beforehand? Where have they researched? What information have they gained? It's not in your fact find, it's not a compliance thing, but we need to find that out. What's their time scale to make a choice, for example? Their fixed rate may not be for another year. So what's their time scale? All these things help you to attach your sales process to their buying process as well. Who else is helping them to make a decision? There's surprisingly a lot of first-time buyers who'll look to their mum and dad to help them make a decision. Mum and dad aren't guarantors or anything, but they'll speak to their mum and dad at Sunday lunch to get their opinion. That's what people do. So who else? Ask them, who else is helping you to make a decision here? Who else are you talking to about this? So all the questions you may not have thought about before, but we need to ask. So once you've got that comfortable, you need to be able to see where your sales process fits in, and you align your sales process with wherever they are. Let's have a quick look at your sales process just to make sure that you do have the right sales process in the job that you do. So let's just pop in as well and give you the sales process. So let's just reveal the sales process for you. This is the sales process that we recommend mortgage advisors work towards. You may have seen it before. You've got lead generation, of course, a 15-minute discovery call, which is complimentary, where you talk about yourself, the client's goals, where they're wanting to go. You talk about your value proposition, what you're about, how you work. You talk about your fee schedule, and you give them the green light to go ahead with you by getting the time clock going at that point. But this is 15 minutes only. You then might need to do an affordability meeting, a fact find meeting. Then you'll need to do some sourcing, some research, and then you give them advice and you close. There may be a mortgage offer meeting if there's a mortgage offer involved, where you just tidy up a few loose ends. Then finally, you have what's called the settled in meeting, which means that you're settling in pretty much, really, when it comes to it. And that's where some advisors pick up on protection and things like that, and referrals and stuff like that. So really then where's your client when you meet them? This is why we talk about a 15-minute discovery call being really important, because that's where you find out all this information about where they are, their goals and their ambitions. Because if you meet them and they're in their research phase, then a 15-minute discovery call might just be perfect for them to find out where they are, where you are, where there's chemistry and you're all aligned. And then, of course, you can then start moving along your sales process. But you might need to adapt your sales process. It might not be the one that you keep to. For example, you may not need an affordability meeting if it's a pure product transfer, for example. But make sure the remaining steps match their steps, because they will go through that buying process. I think that's a really good commitment technique. So there's a few ideas for you as well. The second commitment technique I want to share with you is what I call a CTA, or call to action. If you're a marketer or if you've been involved in marketing, the acronym CTA is often used. Every piece of marketing needs to have a call to action. In other words, your customer needs to take steps next. They need some sort of next steps. Every meeting you have with a customer, every phone meeting, video meeting, face-to-face meeting, needs to have a next step, a call to action. And you need to control that. Now, one of the best companies I've come across that do that are these guys, Ikea. Now, Ikea, if you've never been, you want to go because it's quite an experience. Now, their call to action when you enter their store is they have every path laid out for you. They have their sales process laid out for you, step by step, and you pretty much have to adhere to it. Here's a photograph. If you're on the live stream here, you can see that they got these little arrows, haven't they, everywhere? These are their secret, as you can see. These little arrows are either beamed in from the floor in the form of a light or a painting, and it gives you direction as to where you need to go next. Now, of course, you can nip into the back there and get a little shortcut to the tills if you want to, but nobody ever really does. We follow their process, and that's a call to action. And that's what my recommendation to you is: get your customer to take the next step, the next part of your sales process. Now, one of the best ways of doing that is what I call the Suits metaphor, the Suits method. Now, Suits is a TV program. It's been around for a number of years now. I've watched every episode. It's brilliant. Now, this is where apparently Harry our Prince Harry. I think can we still call him Prince Harry? I don't know. Prince Harry met Meghan. Now, Meghan was a star in Suits, as you can see from the photograph there. There's a picture there of Meghan, and there's the other guys in the suits. And apparently, Harry was in Afghanistan, and he watched an episode of Suits, saw Meghan, fell in love, and the rest is history, as you can see. And I won't go any further than that. Now, the point I'm making here, though, is in Suits, there's a character called Harvey Specter, and there's Harvey Specter. Let's zoom in so we can see him. Now, Harvey Specter is the lead lawyer. He's smooth, he's rich, he's debonair, he's just casual, relaxed, intelligent. He's got everything a bloke, I guess, needs to have. But he used to use this phrase, which he used all the time. He said, "This is what we're going to do next." He'd always used to use that phrase. Now, let's talk about this is what we're going to need to do. This is what we're going to do next. And that's what I want you to think about doing yourself. When you're with a client, this is what we're going to do next, is the phrase that you use. This is what we're going to do next. And that way, you can keep control of your sales process and guide them to a healthy conclusion. Now, next week, I'm going to share with you a technique whereby if the time frame for the customer is completely out of sync, in other words, if it's like a year, for example, before they can go ahead and purchase your solution, then you need something else put in there called an incubator. And I'll talk about that to you next week as well. So that's something to look forward to in our commitment gaining series. But great picture there, isn't it, of the guys there. There are 2 call to action techniques for you. Hope you found that useful. When Harry met Meghan, there's a little story for you, isn't it? Anyway, let's get on to our next idea for you. Now, I want to talk about property surveys, and all those good things, because property surveys, as you can appreciate, are part of what we do. We don't do the surveying, but we get involved in the report. We talk to the lender about the property and its condition, and we therefore need to be very au fait with property surveys and structural reports and specialist reports. We need to understand property, particularly if you're in the equity release marketplace, because I've been reading about articles recently about properties that have been rejected by equity release lenders, because an equity release lender has only got the property as security. There's no mortgage payments, you see. It's the property. And sometimes properties are getting kicked out because they don't have this or they don't have that. And one area of concern with all properties is what you can't see, the bit on the top, the roof. The roof houses solar panels. They can be flat roofs, apex roofs. And therefore, as a mortgage advisor, you need to be fully aware of what's required by a roof for acceptability for mortgage purposes. And we're talking here about traditional construction, aren't we? Slates and tiles, apex roofs they prefer rather than thatch. So all these things come into getting a mortgage over the line. But when the surveyor goes out, she will sometimes look at the roof. That depends on the survey, of course. And an inspection of the roof is not always possible or part of the deal. If you go for a basic valuation, for example, the surveyor is not going to climb up there with a ladder, and she's not going to inspect the roof for you. And in some properties, you can't see the roof. Our property, which I'll show you in a second, you can't see the roof with binoculars, which is not a bad way of doing it. Now, of course, many send up drones, and come on to that in a second. If you're having a full building survey, then you will have the roof inspected, and a home buyer's report should get up there as well and have a look, but very rare. But then what they'll do is they'll recommend, if there's works required, they'll recommend specialist surveys. We'll come on to that in a second. First of all, roofs themselves are difficult to see sometimes from the ground. Our property, which is in a terrace house, which is one row of terraces opposing another row of terraces with quite a narrow road. If you go to the other pavement and look up, you can't actually see our roof because of the lie of the land and the way that the wall is, and you're down here on the pavement looking. You can't see over the parapet wall. You can't see the roof. So I can't see my roof tiles. So I need a solution to that. And this may well be something that your surveyor has recommended, that the roof is inspected. So we need to inspect our roof. Now, when our surveyor came along a few years ago to inspect the property, in fact, we bought this property in 2019. And the surveyor, she went up there and she got this guy to do a drone, or girl to do a drone photographs. And these are the photographs that she came out with. I'll share this with you. This is a picture of our roof from a drone photograph. Now, this was 4 years ago. Now, as you probably notice, it doesn't look particularly in good condition. It's an 1840s property. Let's get all dots, you can see that. There's a slight bow there, different coloured slates and tiles. They are new tiles, by the way. They did report that. There's been some replacements or something going on there. There's a roof light there. We've also got a flat roof, which you can see here. 2-story extension flat roof with modern coverings. But again, it doesn't look brilliant there. I think it was quite cold at that point. And there's the chimney stack, which has had some work done there to a chimney pot. Now, what we need to do here, of course, is we need to get this inspected. I can't see it from the back garden or from the road. I can't see the roof. The problem, of course, with the back garden is you've got this 2-story extension. It's a flat roof, and there's the roof of the house. I can't see the roof from our garden. So the only way I'm going to get it inspected is to get somebody up there with scaffolding, which is going to cost a fortune. But the best thing to do now, of course, is to look at drone photography. Now, all surveyors use drones now to photograph and video the roofs. And you may have a request from a survey from one of your clients where the roof needs further inspection. In that case, you want to get them to talk to a drone company. Now, the problem with drone companies, there's plenty of builders or roofers that will do the drones for you because they've got a bit of an ulterior motive, haven't they? Think about it. Think about it though. You employ a building firm who uses a drone guy to go out and have a little look, and that their job is to fix roofs. They'll probably find something to fix. And okay, that's the way the world rolls. Let's not be naive about it. So we've actually looked at this firm, and just give you details of the firm if you want to have a look at this one. It's called AirCam. It's drone roof inspection. They don't do the fixing. They may have builders to refer to, of course, but they actually specialize in sending up a camera and videoing or taking still shots of your roof. And we're going to be employing them to do that for us. Now, here's a photograph from their webpage. They talk about benefits of a drone roof inspection. Saves time. You don't have to get scaffolding in. Saves money. It's cheaper, safer. Some dude going up a scaffold is not a good idea, really. And you get more detail because you can have HD video, which you can then look at yourself to make a informed decision. I quite like that. Costs, just because I can show you that, for residential drone roof inspection, 189 quid. For commercials, that's where it starts from, obviously. It's going to be a little bit more than that probably, and that makes absolute sense as well. So we're going to get these guys out to have a look at our roof, get a good video of it. I'll be able to have a look at it. I know what to look for, and we've got a builder friend of mine who I might send him a clip to so he can have a look at it as well and make some decisions about what's needed. And if your client needs to have a further inspection following a survey report, then that's probably the best way to do it. So that's getting you up to date, isn't it, with the latest all newfangled thing. It's called drone photography. We call it go out there with the drone. Although we've got an airport near us, actually. We've got Staverton Airport, and they might get a bit upset about the air traffic control. Actually, it's probably cheaper just getting some bloke to go up there with a ladder, isn't it? But I wouldn't want to go up there. It's a bit dodgy, especially with the wind that we've been having. It might blow them over. So that ended that session for you. Hope that's been useful. Bye. Alrighty, let's wrap up, shall we? Let's wrap up. Hope you are, by the way. Hope you're all good. Hope you're enjoying your summer and you're thinking about your autumn in your business. The world is changing quite a lot, and you need to start preparing for the autumn and how things pan out for you. So I hope you've gained from those call to action techniques for you. You need to take a look at how you do that. And next week, I'll give you a couple of more ideas on how you can get your customer committing themselves more to you so that you end up talking to as many customers or consumers, but you actually get business from most of them. Wouldn't that be a great thing to do? Because that's your objective, is to get business. You're not a charity. You have to get business. There's ways of doing it for you. And what's coming up here? Well, we've got quite a bit going on actually this week. On Saturday, we started our podcast series, which is a free one, on CMAT 1. So we're talking about CMAT 1 each Saturday for half an hour, 45 minutes. So if you're not on our database, and I'll share with you that in a second, you need to get on there so we give you information about that one. And on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, we've got our new video series, How to Be a Successful Mortgage Advisor. We're updating that series of videos for you, which you can then access to watch. So we're doing lots of work with our existing customers and gaining new customers ourselves, which is all about business, isn't it, at the end of the day? Remember, as always, here's the clip for, there's the scan there. You can hover your mobile phone over that and you can pick up our landing page where you can enter your details to go onto our member list. If you're on the member list, you get loads of goodies because that's what we're all about. Other than that, I'm going to wish you all a fantastic week. Enjoy yourselves, have fun, don't work too hard. It is the summertime. Remember, kids breaking up at the end of the week, aren't they? So beware, don't go travelling Friday or Saturday. I'll see you all next week.